Ari Aster's premiere horror feature, Hereditary, has been critically acclaimed as one of the most horrifying films to be released in years. Today, I will be exploring how he used lighting, sound, and cinematography to subconsciously create fear in the audience. Additionally, I will be discussing how the fear of the unknown combined with distractions just before the scare make the scene even more terrifying. I am analyzing the final scene of the film. This scene is the conclusion to the Graham family's torment that began when Peter and Charlie were in an accident that ended with Charlie being decapitated. Since that horrific event, the family has been haunted by Paimon, one of the 8 kings of hell. At the start of this scene, Annie is possessed by the demon. Before she was under the control of Paimon, she tried to prove to her husband Steve that they were being tormented by a supernatural force when she throws Charlie's journal into the lit fireplace. She was expecting it not to burn like it had previously done, but instead, Steve is instantly engulfed in flames, and from then on, she is possessed by the King Paimon. This scene begins with Peter finding the charred body of his father in their living room. Annie is shown behind him on the ceiling. The lighting here is selective. It shows Annie above Peter to build fear and suspense. However, the real fear comes when the lighting changes to reveal a stranger lurking in the shadows. The camera moves with Peter as he sees the person in the closet. When it goes back to the first camera angle, the lighting is still focused on where Annie was, yet she's missing. The viewer feels an instant fear of not knowing where she is and wondering what will come next. Lighting here is manipulated to subliminally make the viewer scared. When you're watching, you aren't aware of how the lighting is directing you to notice Annie on the ceiling, setting up for the real scare after being distracted by the stranger in the closet when she's not there. While Peter is being chased, the music is loud and intense, but as soon as he makes it into the attic, it begins to be overpowered by Annie violently banging her head against the attic door. The deafening music and dramatic banging is accompanied by Peter's desperate pleads and apologies to his mother. The banging stops and music fades out as Peter sobs. It's quiet for a moment. All you hear is Peter's breathing and flies buzzing.
Mommy?
The silence is not welcomed. Rather than a comfort or a sign that the chase is over, it feels suspenseful. The audience is left wondering what is coming next. Peter notices the silence as he looks around. The music begins to build with a low hum. The hum here peaks as Peter finds a photo of himself with the eye scratched out. Much like the lighting previously, this sound is used to divert the viewer from the real fear that's coming. The sound in this section of the scene is used to signal when something is about to happen. As a result, the absence of sound is used to make the viewer fear what's coming. It builds suspense that is later amplified by the diversions from the main scare. The subliminal messages the sound designs send ultimately make the release of suspense more satisfying for the viewer.
Just gotta wake up. You're dreaming, you just gotta wake up. Come on. You're okay. Just wake up. Wake up. Come.
A sound from off-screen is heard, yet the camera lingers on a close shot of Peter's face rather than on the action. Once the Once again, the viewer is fearing the unknown. Once the action is revealed, we see a low-angle shot of Annie decapitating herself. The angle implies the power Paimon has over not only Peter but the entire Graham family. When Peter looks away from his mother sawing off her own head with a piano string, the shots are cut quickly, as if in sync with his eyes as they dash towards three naked strangers staring at him. There's a small ting heard just as the music ends and Peter notices the strangers. This matches perfectly with the faster pace set for this small portion of the scene. The audience begins to feel as though they are in Peter's shoes. This is amplified throughout the scene because the shots switch between lingering reaction shots of Peter's face and point of view shots of how he is seeing the actions around him. The sound in this part of the scene also increases fear created within the audience. The music is almost deafening while Annie saws at her neck with increasing speed. Hearing Peter scream and run out of the window as Annie continues to decapitate herself serves to bring the viewer into the scene again. In the final part of the scene, Paimon has finally possessed Peter, as he has been trying to do for the entire film. This is signaled by Peter clicking his tongue in the same way Charlie would. The audience has been conditioned to fear this sound, as it is used to signify the presence of Paimon throughout the movie. As Peter follows his mother's headless body into the treehouse, there is a shift in tone. This can be attributed to the change in music and lighting. Now the music is reminiscent of religious music. It serves to make Peter joining the ritual feel like a homecoming. This, paired with much brighter and much warmer lighting than the rest of the scene, create a feeling of satisfaction and relief for the audience. They are no longer scared of what might be lurking in the shadows. The audience is now content that Peter has been possessed rather than wishing he survived. Ari Aster is now known for making viewers root for the unlikely outcome. This plot device has been repeated in Aster's sophomore film, Midsummer. While the viewer is satisfied with the ending, their original hopes for the characters are completely subverted. The film is written in such a way that the audience doesn't notice they have begun rooting for Paimon, and that is why Hereditary is one of my favorite films.